Hello, I'm Scott Brown, and I'm proud to represent you in the United States Senate. I wanted to take a moment and give you an update on what I'm working on in Washington. With the start of the 112th Congress, our leaders in Washington have a really fine opportunity to prove that we can put aside partisan differences, work together, make tough choices so that we can make our country a better place to live, work, and raise our families. We all know that times are still tough and that people are still hurting, and we can continue to face daunting challenges at the state and federal level, or we can get to work. There are too few jobs, too much spending, and the national debt that is skyrocketing out of control. Each month that passes proves that the private sector is still not creating enough jobs nationally. In the past 3 years alone, 8 million jobs have disappeared. And it's a big hole that we're just now starting to climb out of. Too many families are still trying to make ends meet, and our workers are still pounding the pavement looking for work. If you lined up the 15 million unemployed people in this country, and the line would stretch from Boston to California and then back to Boston again. Government at every level, local, state, and federal, is saddled with far too much debt. Annual budget deficits are piling up and putting more debt on us every single day. Debt that will ultimately fall on the backs of our grandchildren and great-grandchildren. Forget about our children. Washington has a binge spending problem. And let me be clear, more spending, whether you call it an investment or something else, is not the right answer. I'll be the first to tell you that overcoming these challenges will be tough for sure. But I believe that if Washington can truly come together and put aside its partisan differences, we can begin to solve these major problems right away for the American people. People across the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, especially business leaders, have made it crystal clear that the issue that weighs most on their minds is jobs. Massachusetts small businesses are the economic engine of our state. Everyone knows that. And our businesses have extraordinary potential to grow, expand, and actually hire more workers. But it's hard for our business owners to have confidence given the current economic environment. And quite frankly, I don't blame them. So for this legislative session, I have assembled a targeted approach to boosting jobs not only in the Bay State but throughout the country. And my plan is to work incrementally on bills that, if passed, will help revitalize the Massachusetts and national economies. My targeted approach empowers businesses, reduces regulation, and helps companies put people back to work almost immediately. First thing we can do is get rid of the 1099 reporting mandate and the medical device tax. As you know, I'm opposed to the new health care law because it raises taxes, hurts seniors, and increases premiums. And I believe we should repeal it and start over. But in the meantime, I want to immediately fix the worst parts of the bill that kill jobs and hurt businesses. And that starts with repealing the 1099 reporting mandate and the medical device tax. The 1099 reporting mandate is burying our small businesses. If you have one, you know what I'm talking about. In an avalanche of unnecessary paperwork. Filling out a new form for every purchase above $600 makes no sense. It's government overreach at its very worst. Most Democrats, including the president, have also recognized the 1099 mandate was a terrible mistake. They want to repeal it too. So now there are actually two different versions of the bill in the Senate, a Republican bill and a Democrat bill. And go figure, I'm the only senator currently supporting both of them. I'm lead sponsor on both bills because I don't care which party gets the credit for fixing it. I just want to make sure we get it done, and get it done before it's too late. The medical device tax is another provision in the president's health care bill that is particularly bad for Massachusetts and is over 235 medical device companies. And I'm introducing a bill to repeal the medical device tax without increasing the deficit. Remember, that represents some of that tax alone, the medical device tax, represents the net profit in some of these businesses. The medical device industry in Massachusetts, as you all know, is critical to our economy and our state, and we just can't afford this tax. And this is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the overtaxation and the overregulation. I'll be working to make sure that the regulators don't suffocate our job creators with just huge amounts of red tape. For example, many of our Massachusetts companies are hit with a 3% withholding tax for simply doing government contract work. It makes no sense. So I'm introducing legislation to repeal that tax, which would give these businesses more capital to invest and actually help create jobs. And we must commit to speeding up innovation. And I'm eager once again, to work across the aisle with the President and my Democrat colleagues to take steps to make sure that America and Massachusetts are both open for business now and in the future. But to get us there, I'm going to be introducing a series of bills designed to improve our high-tech sector. The first of these is the Innovate America Act that I'm introducing with Senator Klobuchar of Minnesota. In our bill, we're doing everything from increasing the number of science and math high schools to helping connect researchers at universities like MIT and other great colleges and universities in Massachusetts to investors and businesses and business people that can actually turn those ideas into dollars. I'm also working on a bill with Senator Casey from Pennsylvania that would help streamline the FDA process for drug manufacturers. In the race to develop life-saving drugs for rare diseases, small companies that create jobs in Massachusetts often hit the so-called valley of death as they wait for FDA approvals. And that's way too long for them. They can't survive. This bill would enhance and streamline the FDA process to quicken the review and approval of life-saving medicines, which is critical for many people who need those medicines. This bill would create hope not only for children with rare diseases, but everybody, and help the biotech sector and actually save lives. I'm also fighting hard for our fishermen. As you all know, many fishermen aren't working in Gloucester, Fall River, and New Bedford are being crushed by the unfair catch share regulations. This is simply unacceptable. There has to be a better way. I'm introducing a bill that will hold the Commerce Department accountable for the impacts of their regulations on fishermen and their communities. Finally, we must take care of our veterans. They have sacrificed so much for our country and have asked for very little in return. I'm not sure if you understand that unemployment is a huge problem for our veterans, and especially members of the National Guard. Nationally, almost 20% of the members of the National Guard are unemployed. My bill, the Hire a Soldier Act of 2011, would extend a tax credit for businesses that will help put our heroes back to work. The measures I have just described are targeted to boosting jobs in the Bay State and throughout the country without raising taxes, increasing spending, or adding to the deficit. As you may have heard, I've been named to the Senate Committee on Small Business, which I'm so very excited about, where I'll be able to work on these and many, many other issues affecting small businesses. That's not to say it's going to be easy to pass these measures. Nothing ever seems to be easy around here. But I'm hopeful that my colleagues will realize that we're in trouble and that bipartisanship is actually a two-way street. And if you have followed my voting record, you'll see that I support a good idea whenever I see one, whether there's an R or a D attached to the end of the bill. It can't be more clear when I say creating jobs and growing our economy is too important to let partisan politics get in the way. The time is now to make a change. So now the bills I've outlined for you today are targeted solutions, not the total answer. It's the beginning. They're targeted solutions to some of the economic problems that we face in our state and will help to get the Commonwealth's economy moving again. Obviously, the economic problems we face as a nation are going to take all of us here in Washington and you at home also coming together on an even larger scale to do things like fix our tax code. Tax code is so complicated that businesses and individuals spend billions a year on tax compliance, money that would be better used to create jobs. We should make the R&D tax credit permanent and reform our tax code to give businesses the one thing that they're just craving for, which is certainty about what they're going to have to pay the IRS. And it will take everyone coming together immediately to address the mounting national debt and Washington's binge spending habits. Our record-setting, let me just backtrack. When I got down here, $11.95 trillion national debt. We're up over $14 trillion now. Our national debt is unsustainable. So I was pleased to hear that the president would veto any bills that contained earmarks. I'm opposed to earmarks. The system's been abused, and I believe that the end of the earmark culture in Washington is appropriate. Banning earmarks will help a little, but earmarks are, once again, just the tip of the iceberg. If we're going to get serious about stopping Washington's spending binge, we need to get serious about cutting spending, period. We need to put everything on the table, from entitlement programs to subsidies and everything in between. Everything should be on the table. And we need to decide what we can live with and what we can live without, just like you do at home. Yes, Washington has a very long and exhausted to-do list, and its completion will be determined by the focus and efforts of our leaders. Fortunately, I'm an optimist. In Washington, you have to be, or else you'd quit on the first day. If the President, his administration, and this Congress are serious about fixing the economy, putting people back to work, and getting our national debt and spending under control, we will finally see action on the single most important domestic issue facing our nation today. Please contact my office at www.scottbrown.senate.gov if you have any questions or comments, or if you'd like to pass along an idea of your own as to how to make government better and how to save us some money. So thank you for listening. Once again, I'm Scott Brown, and I'm honored to represent you in the United States Senate.